What's up, Diablo 4 Rogues? So this is probably going to be one of the top tier builds going into Season 5, which is going to be the brand new HeartSeeker Rogue. So let's go over the brand new updates and changes and why this is going to be maybe the top tier build like in the game. And I'm not even talking about just the rogues, because right now it is up in the air for how Victimize will be working in Season 5. In Season 3, Victimize basically wasn't working properly. Season 4 came around, was doing double dipping, one of the absolute top tier builds for Rogue because it was not really behaving as intended. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys have maybe seen a lot of content creators, including myself, talk about a brand new like update that we got from the official Blizzard Diablo team that was like for the Diablo partners, where we got some info and we got the green light from Blizzard that we can share this info. So for starters, as far as it goes in terms of Victimize, I don't even know what's going to go ahead and actually work, but it doesn't matter, and I'll explain why. So we could just run in close quarters and we're good to go, or we can actually run Victimize and get a huge amount of buffs. So if Victimize even works properly, this build is going to be crazy good, but even if it doesn't work, it's still going to be very, very strong. Now, if it doesn't work like it worked in Season 4, let's say like it's too hard, they can't fix it, they release it the same state, it is absolutely going to be probably the best build in the entire game. Now, if they tone it back to Season 3 and make it like terrible, well, the thing is that we just don't run Victimize. We run close quarters, and Rogue is still going to be absolutely great. But it's up in the air in terms of like if this is going to be the best build in the game, period. Yeah, it's also like that and the Chain Lightning one. It's not something that we got like the definitive numbers on like how it's going to work. But like on the PTR, Victimize wasn't working like at all really with the Rogue. But the Chain Lightning, I mean, that thing was crazy. So this is still going to be an absolute top tier build though for Rogue. But again, I'm mentioning it if it does work just like in Season 4, because we didn't really get clear confirmation what's going on with it. It was basically, well, we'll look into it. So take it with a grain of salt, but there are some crazy new toys that we get in Season 5. So one of the newest updates is just, it's crazy, okay? So Fist of Fate is getting reworked to have attack speed, critical strike chance, lucky hit chance, and a lucky hit up to a chance to apply a random crowd control effect. So that random crowd control effect is still pretty good because, of course, you're going to be running control and you get bonus damage to like other targets that are stunned or frozen. So it works. And then Fist of Fate still has that effect where like it does like 1 to 300% up the damage. So the reason why this is crazy good, to explain this, a greater affix just on a ring rolls up to 9%. We're not even talking about masterworking, just 9%. Now this starts off without a greater affix at 51.8 lucky hit. So if we get this greater affix and masterworked, I mean, we are looking at crazy numbers to the point where like you don't even need to roll lucky hit on your stuff anymore. You just always are going to pretty much be hitting with it. Now it depends on what skill that you're using, but well, HeartSeeker already has a pretty good lucky hit chance. So this is going to make the skill just absolutely crazy. And on top of that, there is a new change with Frostburn that just applies some sort of damage. But that is going to be another pair of gloves. So if we run that, we will have to replace that. So there is two different options to play, but just this number is crazy. So if Victimize is even halfway decent, this is going to make the build just so godly. So let's say that they fix Victimize and we fix the double dipping. This is going to make it super good. Now, if again they keep it the way it is because for whatever reason it may be too difficult to fix, and I totally get that, you know, some certain skills it's really hard to figure out, you know, maybe what's causing the double dipping and stuff, especially with like things like retribution. But if it stays the same, this will probably be the best build in the game. Not even talking best rogue build, I'm talking the best build, because the amount of lucky hit chance that you're getting is, it's absolutely just bonkers. It's crazy. So Fist of Fate, invest into that thing. And then on top of that, there's another thing that is quite cool called Cold Clip. So Cold Clip actually allows your abilities on the basic skills to always be 100% cold imbue. So you have 100% cold imbue. You throw in the mods with you know, putting in the extra points in a cold imbue with the little different like nodes, you will get way more damage and stuff, and it already gives you up to 20x more damage to chilled or frozen. And if you have Fist of Fate that is applying all these other crowd controls, well, you're going to build up that stagger bar and just delete the bosses. It's going to be great. And again, keep in mind in the background in the gameplay, that was from the PTR, which we had like a really bad Victimize, and that's why we're playing close quarters in it. But you can see over here, I was playing Victimize, but I'm going to swap to close quarters, and you'll see that there is going to be a small difference here. But again, you can play it with close quarters, or you can play it with Victimize. It's up to you. Now, the other new toy that we got is a Shard of Varethel. I mean, it's up to 300x multiplicative damage, pretty OP, plus basic skills, basic attack speed, so I guess you lose out on the rapid aspect, but it's okay because this already basically covers it and is even way better, especially if you get a greater affix. There's also a couple of other things like Tricks of the Trade that's really good. Crown of Lucian is going to be in like every single build, but I'm just mentioning this over here. Tricks of the Trade, crazy good because it's just basically another 25x damage for the build. And then, like I mentioned before, you can play close quarters. You saw like in the gameplay right there in the back where I was swapping them. It's up to you what you want to play, and on top of that, if you don't want to play with the cold clip aspect, that's fine too. You could still play without it. I was playing without it, and it still definitely works. But anyways, let's go ahead and now go over the build, as I want to go ahead and explain some of the newer toys. So you can see I wasn't even running a Lockeran's talisman, but you can run that too. It's definitely a good item, but it's just you lose out on adaptability, which is like a 120x multiplier. So for starters, let's go over the skills. So it's going to be running Smokescreen. We're going to be running HeartSeeker. That's our form of attack. A lot of subterfuge skills because just like every rogue build going forward, you need Umbra Crux. Umbra Crux is crazy multiplier. And then we have Caltrops. We got Shadow Step. We just need to activate Shadow Step. As long as we activate Shadow Step off of cooldown, which is on a 6-second cooldown. I don't even have like CDR in my build really. You just need Rakanos Wake, and then you'll be even faster than that. But every 8 seconds is when you need to activate Shadow Step, and the reason why you need to do this, or you can throw in Dash instead of the concealment, up to you. You need to proc, of course, the bonus with Tricks of the Trade. That's getting a massive buff. It's just for 8 seconds, you just get 25x damage. Really easy thing to hit. And then as far as the specialization, Inner Sight, just because it is so dang good. It really helps out with resource, and it's awesome. And then for items, Crown of Lucian, just like every single build, and then Umbrus, so it ranks the Dark Shroud, kind of like the important thing to get. Running Fist of Face or Frostburn. Frostburn just gives you flat cold or fire damage. I'm going to have to update this video, and I'll let you guys know which one is actually better, because we have to wait to see what happens with Victimize. If Victimize sucks, then we run the Frostburns. If Victimize is good, then we run Fist of Fate. Like I said, it literally doesn't matter. It's going to be good regardless. And then you kind of have an open slot here. I like the Aspect of Crowded Sage, but run whatever you want, to be honest. And then Rakanos Wake, it just basically gives you all res. Same thing with Pants. If you don't get Rakanos Wake, you just need to get some resistances here and there. Ideally, you can just get like 2 all reses, because we're going to be running Starless Skies, which gives you a massive amount of all res. And then for our 2-hander, we definitely want to run the Aspect of Moonrise, which is excellent. And then just Caltrop Size. If you get some crit damage on it, that's cool too, but it's like really not that important to get all of these stats with this build. Now, one thing that is important for the amulet though is if you don't want to run Lockeran's Talisman, which is still good by the way, I like Frigid Finesse because we want to run a cold clip, and that's going to give you crazy amounts of damage if you get more into Frigid Finesse. And then Ring of Starless Skies because it works really, really well. And then the cold clip aspect that I was talking about before, you're just going to have crazy amounts of lucky hit. And then Umbra Crux and the Shard of Varethel, which we already went over, for a massive amount of damage. For the gems, pretty much the standard Emerald, Ruby, and Diamonds. And as far as the skill tree goes, it's pretty basic. It's just like a HeartSeeker build. So you get HeartSeeker and you run the one that ricochets. And now with the Umbra Crux on the bosses, you're going to have something to ricochet off of, which is awesome. And then we don't run a, core skill here because we don't need it. This is important. You need to get the brand new one. I don't know if it has the stuff here, but it basically gives you more cooldown and it dazes the enemy and stuff. It's great. Now, I don't go for trick attacks with this build. If you want to, you could throw in another aspect to, manglers or something to apply the condition, whatever. If you want to run it, it's fine. If you don't, that's fine too. I just didn't really have room because we're going to have to invest in a cold imbue. But concealment, we are also running Smoke Grenade again. You could drop concealment for dash. You could get points in agile, dark shroud. It's kind of like the bread and butter of rogue. And then we obviously want to max out Frigid Finesse, so dang good. And then cold imbue, we only need 1 point into it. And then we're going to get the one where we have the ability to make enemies vulnerable. So this way we don't play a Cursed Touch. If you want to run a Cursed Touch, that's totally fine. And then we're running mixed cold imbuement, so we can get up to 40x. So we get 40x here, and on top of that vulnerability, like it just solves a lot of like extra damage. And we don't need to put multiple points to cold imbue, but if you want to, I don't see it like really being that much of a problem. It just has more of a chance to eventually freeze the enemies, but I'm freezing enemies so dang fast if you watch the gameplay. I mean, like, look, they're just pretty much frozen. Now, obviously in the boss, you're gonna have to build up that stagger bar still. It's not gonna be like you shoot once and it just instas the boss, but the time to kill is very respectable, as you'll see. And then these actually do different things. This Francis Shield in Season 5, which is excellent. I'm so glad that during that like Diablo partner meeting that I can tell tell you guys about. I was really worried about second wind getting nerfed because I felt like this was the one thing I was just like, dude, this makes Rogue absolutely amazing. But look at this. We're just shredding this boss, and we didn't even need to build up that stagger. That's how good this build is. But on top of that, again, close quarters. If you do run close quarters on your pieces of gear, you want to specifically get damage to crowd controlled, but if you want to run Victimize, then you get vulnerable damage. Again, I will update you guys, and I'll also update this build, so if you're new here, make sure you're subbed with the bell notification on, and I'll update you guys which one is the best. I'm guessing they will eventually both work, but if for whatever reason they decide, you know, let's just kill Victimize, it's fine, just go close quarters. I showed you guys both of them are totally viable. The first gameplay that you saw was with Victimize, and the second one was with close quarters. I like close quarters because it gives us like up to 30% more attack speed, which is great, and you know, you're just getting crowd control anyways. Now, you're not going to be able to get as much as you would normally in Season 4, and that's because you run so many dang uniques, because, well, they want us to play more uniques, and that's fine. The Umbra Crux is just so dang powerful here. And then, now that we've went over that, let's go over the Paragon board, as things have definitely changed up, because we are perma in the Imbue. So let's go ahead and actually make this a little bit bigger, just because I know it's harder to see. So, for starters, we are running, of course, Ranger, and then we're going to be going up to the second one, which is Exploit, and then we are going to be getting Combat over here, so we can get extra resources, because, well, we're going to be spamming things quite fast. Now, this is where it gets a little bit more interesting over here. Now, normally when a lot of rogue builds, you'll run a lot of stuff for like physical damage, like damage versus like healthy and injured, or like chip or something like that. Since we are going to be running cold imbue. Now, you don't have to play cold imbue. If you don't want to, that's fine. Then obviously you can still play chip and whatever one, like it's called pride, that gives you more damage to healthy and injured. You can run that one. But I like to run the one called control over here. You obviously want to run control. The reason why it's really good over here is because it gives you flat int for some reason over here instead of like dex. So it's really great in this particular area, because it's going to give you a lot of your damage to crowd control, which is excellent. And then we could basically drop another like board that would normally have some sort of X damage and just get this, because when we attack with an imbued skill, we just gain extra resistance to it, and then on top of that, 20% increased damage of that imbuement's element for 9 seconds. So we have perma Eldritch Bounty up, so more survivability against cold is always going to be good. And then just like pretty much every single rogue build going into the next season for the most part, Tricks of the Trade as well as Deadly Ambush are just too dang good to skip out on. They also mentioned in the Diablo partner meeting that we can talk about, this, as far as caltrops goes, it will not be able to like do some crazy like double dipping, I guess, with the increased duration. It was giving too much. So instead of caltrops duration on your piece of gear, you may want to try to just get caltrop size. Or honestly, you could actually drop this thing completely. I felt like the damage was so good, unless you're trying to push for rank 1, you know, like the difference in damage and how smooth the gameplay plays when you just don't play caltrops. I think you could run dash instead, because it requires so much to set up, like, nowadays, because you have to run, like, multiple subterfuge. You have to cast 2 subterfuge skills, and then throw caltrops, let the caltrops cook up to get the ramp up in damage, right? And at that point, I could just activate 2 subterfuge and start shooting, and by the time I jump back, like, the boss is almost dead. So I feel like it might not even be that necessary for every single build to actually play this, unless, again, you're pushing. It's just super smooth, even without, like, you know, activating on bosses. I would say if you want to drop this, it might be something that you could consider. Obviously, it will do more damage, but I think that you can have smoother gameplay, and you can just get like more HP. You can also get some more damage in like the very starter board here. So it's up to you. So yeah, Ranger, starter, and then exploit, weakness, exploit, and then we get cunning, stratagem, combat, and then it pretty much doesn't really matter, but we run no witness control after the third board. And then we can get Cheap Shot, Devious over here. So, of course, more crowd control. And then, again, these orders don't matter because there's no real big yellow nodes that we're getting. So we run Deadly Ambush over here. And then we get Tricks of the Trade. And then lastly, we just get Eldritch Bounty. So we actually drop like one of the glyphs, and that's because, well, the legendary nodes are actually so much better to actually grab for this build. But yeah, if you guys were wondering, is HeartSeeker like dead? No, it is absolutely playable, and it will probably be stronger. In fact, most builds will probably be stronger. It's part of the power creep in Diablo, but it's a fun build. I'll leave everything down below, but if you guys have any questions or suggestions, and I will update you guys, so make sure you guys are subbed with the bell notification on, as again, I was really curious to see if they were going to nerf Victimize, and it's like, well, I don't know. So we will wait and see, you know, what they do with it. and it doesn't matter what they do with it because we just go close quarters and Victimize gets nerfed. But you can still play HeartSeeker, which is awesome. And another thing I should mention real quick, the reason why it's so good going into the next season, by the way, is Umbacrux gives a target for the HeartSeeker to ricochet off of, so you get way more boss DPS, because before it wouldn't have anything to ricochet off to, and on top of that, when it's hitting the target and then ricocheting off of it, you're getting all the extra damage anyways. It's crazy. I mean, look at that time. Like, I was genuinely impressed when I was seeing this gameplay. Even though I did activate caltrops over here, but you'll see the damage. It just starts chunking the boss. And remember, the bosses on the PTR were way harder and overtuned compared to what they should be on a PET 100 versus the live server. So yeah, I'm very confident that this build will absolutely be like a fan favorite going into the next season. But anyways, I'll have everything pinned. If you have questions, let me know down below, or suggestions, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Rogue is looking really good though. More builds coming very soon.